Guys, actually heard you guys pulled up to Owatonna, the big O, and you pulled up when I was not there? Y'all, so puss-ass shit, boy. You gonna get popped next time I see your ass. Bring the whole cavalry. Yeah, boy, you guys are scared. Scared of the stingray, baby.
Somali immigrants were mocking Americans online, but the moment they met them face to face, regret hits immediately. What happened next? You won't believe it. Recently, there has been tension between Somali immigrants and some American communities. Some Somali Americans mocked Americans online, claiming that Americans work hard to support welfare programs that allow others to live comfortably. But when some of these Somali immigrants had to interact directly with the Americans they mocked, everything changed. Regret set in immediately. Stay with me because what you're about to say isn't just funny or awkward. It's a lesson in respect, empathy, and accountability. So, if this is your first time here, I'm glad you found this channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a conversation. And as always, credit goes to the original creators for every single clip used in this episode. This video is for educational purposes and awareness. It is not meant to hate or discriminate against anyone. The goal is to discuss real challenges and perspective openly and respectfully. Let's watch this clip together, and when we come back, we'll break down what's actually been said and why it matters.
Guys, actually heard you guys pulled up to Owatonna, the big O, and you pulled up when I was not there? Y'all, so puss-ass shit, boy. You gonna get popped next time I see your ass. Bring the whole cavalry.
Y'all, that was Hassan Muhammad, a college student. Could you believe this? A college student at the University of Minnesota who probably got a free scholarship because they be handing immigrants those free scholarships up there, threatening to pop ICE. Now, after some pressure, this is his follow-up video.
I made a severe and continuous lapse in my judgment. I don't expect to be forgiven. I'm just here to apologize.
And then people turn around and act dumbfounded when they propose like, hey, we need 5 years of your social media history before you could enter the country. Stupid shit like that. Got a free scholarship to Minnesota University and act entitled. But yo, ICE did pull up. ICE did slide on Minnesota.
Who surrounded their vehicle.
No, it's not.
We need to stop this drama between African Americans and Somalis in the States because I can see both of the arguments. Some Somalis might argue that this drama is being initiated by African Americans, that African Americans interjected themselves into this madness, which is Somali American citizens being attacked by their president simply because of their ethnicity. And many Somalis argued that it is because of their skin color. And this ticked off a lot of African Americans because they said, oh, but didn't you say that you are not black? Well, if you're not black, then you can ask for help because someone is attacking you because of your skin color and stuff like that. But one huge difference that we need to understand is that when Somalis say they are not black, they mean culturally, ethnically, they are not black. Or in other words, they don't identify with their skin color, but the rest of the world identifies them by their skin color. So a Somali can enter a store, and before he entered that store, he was a Somali, but the moment he entered that store clerk followed him around because he saw a teenage black boy. And that is what they mean when they are being targeted because they are black, because of their skin color. However, I also understand the other argument. Many African Americans have a negative view of the Somali community because they feel like they spew derogative terms against certain Africans, against other African people in the diaspora, calling them names like Jarer, where some Somalis will claim that it is not negative, but 9 times out of 10, that name or that slur is being used in a negative term, whether you want to admit that or not. And that is something we definitely need to stop. So what can we do with this knowledge to move forward? Well, African Americans can try to see how other Africans view color and view race from their lenses, and understand that when they mean that they are being treated worse because they are black, it doesn't mean that they identify with the black culture that was made in African Americans in America. They mean that the color of their skin is the reason why they are being treated badly. Whether they identify with being black or not won't change their skin color. That label was made by racial hierarchy. And one thing Somalis can do is to look at the backlash and the strong reactions they are getting from their fellow Africans, including African Americans, and notice that it is rooted in feeling like they are being insulted or feeling like they are being looked at in a different way by Somali communities. And we have to be honest and really dive deep into say, okay, yes, this is true. There are certain things that are being used in a negative way towards African Americans, and we have to definitely look into that. African Americans and Africans at all. We can't just look into it, we have to really stop it. So these are the things that we can do to move forward.
More fraud has been discovered in Minnesota, and this time is with the SBA, Small Business Administration. So these are the PPP loans and those disaster loans that they were giving around the COVID era. So this is what the administrator said on X. Today, our agency took action to suspend 6,900 Minnesota borrowers and suspected fraudulent activity. In total, these borrowers were approved for $7,900 in PP and EIDL loans worth approximately $400 billion. She said the implicated individuals will be banned from all SBA loan programs, including disaster loans. Going forward, we will also refer every case where appropriate to federal law enforcement for prosecution and repayment. The suspension comes as the House Committee on Small Businesses started an investigation into fraud within the PPP and the EIDL, both programs that were established during the pandemic. When does this stop? When does this stop? You know, it's like it's infinite fraud out there in Minnesota. But yeah, this is what they're trying to do to stop it. They suspended those individuals that was a part of this, but they made off with $400 million. That's a lot of taxpayer money.
Somalis got caught bribing the jury.
One of the Somali fraudsters tried to bribe a juror with $120,000. What turned out, she'd been given $200,000 to bribe the juror, and she skimmed $80,000.
They skimmed the skim. They really are gangsters. But Trump's the captain now, and it's game over.
Nothing surprised me about peoples or what they will do or what they won't do to get what they want. People will go to great lengths, just like they did to the devil. Their job is to kill, steal, and destroy. And that's what they would do when they come to money. The Bible says money is the root of all evil. It ain't never lied. It's the destruction of society, even though you need it to live.
Everyone knows U.S. won't stop bringing immigrants non-stop. That's why you gotta work 2 jobs just to keep a roof over your head and have your own spot. But that's not Somalian problem. Yeah, take it up with your officials. Yeah.
For having me. There are much deeper issues. I've moved into the U.S. And in Maine about 11 years ago, and basically the first question that members of my community asked me which tribe, I belong to, and when I mentioned, so I fell into that category. So there's a deeper tribal rivalry going on in the community, much larger than anybody can actually imagine. And then interestingly enough, even though I spoke very good English, one of the things that I was told to do is go find a discounted housing Section 8, which I didn't know what actually it was, and sign up for all the other community benefits within the government or the state, and my response was, I'm actually here to work and build, basic and become part of the American fabric, which is pretty much what I've been working on for a while.
I'm incredibly fascinated by what you're having to say, so much so that I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to clarify. So when you felt that pressure and you were told to go join, public welfare programs once you moved here, where was that pressure coming from? Are you saying it's like cultural, like neighborhood, like neighbors telling you this is what you should do? How were you pushed in that direction?
Well, it was coming from the community that actually thought that was just a way of life, right? I instead of being asked about what kind of school I want to go to, what subjects I would love to study, and those interesting conversations weren't there at all. And my response was, can we do better things? Can we as a community actually integrate? And let's listen to that word, interestingly, because that had got me a huge backlash. This is many years ago that many people thought, no, let's not talk about integration. And I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for a pushback against this idea of sort of melting into America, becoming part of America. And let's just be very clear that I haven't arrived here as a young man. I mean, I came here at age 29, so I was well informed about my culture and my community growing up in the civil war in Somalia.
Incredibly, you're telling me you not only were discouraged from integrating into America, but you were also encouraged to stick to your tribal allegiances from back in Somalia, and those tribal allegiances and divisions remain here in America. That stat I showed, I'm curious, Abdi, about the percentage of the Somali population on some form of welfare, 80%, and stays that way over a 10-year period. Does that surprise you?
In some ways, it does not. Let me give you one example here. When I was in Somalia, a huge part of the population in Somalia, we're talking about 20 million people in Somalia, a huge number of that depended on $100 that family members in the U.S. sent back home. So there was not a lot of work to rebuild the country or get to work or, just basically building things. So this whole idea of receiving things the easy way has unfortunately actually evolved and became part of our way of life.
The wrong direction. And instead of pulling over once they saw cars flying right at them, the witness says the semi sped up and was hitting 50 miles per hour, going the wrong way for nearly 3 miles. Miraculously, they didn't hit anyone, and Missouri Highway Patrol eventually pulled over that driver who had a legal commercial driver's license from Minnesota. But Highway Patrol says during that stop, our commercial vehicle enforcement troopers conducted a driver inspection and determined the driver could not properly identify road signs, as mandated by federal motor carrier regulations. Per federal motor carrier guidelines, he was placed out of service and not allowed to continue driving. Here's what we know about this particular trucking business. Cargo Transportation LLC is run out of an apartment in Hopkins, Minnesota, just outside Minneapolis. It was registered in 2023 to an Abdulwali Ahmed and only has 2 drivers, one of whom presumably can't read road signs. But still, last year the company drove more than 81,000 miles. We reached out to both Cargo Transportation and Minnesota's Commercial Driver's License Division for comment. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration is now investigating this particular company as the administration continues its push to crack down on foreign nationals driving commercial semi-trucks on our roads after a number of high-profile fatalities involving drivers, several of whom have been in the country illegally.
Wow.
Sandra.
All right, Garrett Tanning on that.
This is all I know. I was only 3 years old when I came, and this is my home, and this has got to stop. I'm not scared, so I'm a citizen. I'm happy. I'm United States. I brought up America. I'm happy. So why you asking me? Some guys asking me, give me basmati, give me a green card. Why? Why you asking me?
Almost every Somali person living here is a citizen.
There's more than 100,000 Somalis in Minnesota. Roughly 84,000 reside in the metro. The journey from Somalia started decades ago.
My family immigrated here to Minneapolis, to Minnesota in 1993. As my father says, we came to a cold place, but we found people with warm hearts.
My parents wanted to provide us a good opportunity for us to chase after that American dream, right?
Many fleeing from civil war, crossing continents for a chance to build something, a chance for their children. For Sumaya Mahmoud, her parents' struggle paved the way for her to shine. Despite the rhetoric, she's grateful to be Somali and American.
One thing they taught me was resilience and not letting, other people's perception of you limit what you can do for yourself. I was born in Kenya, and then I grew up here, started kindergarten, K through 12, all the way up to college here in Minnesota. So
we're talking about Abdimajad Mohammed Nur. He's going to spend the next 10 years, though, in federal lockup after investigators say he took part in a $48 million COVID-19 pandemic scam. So this was part of a meal fraud scam, Trace. They spent hundreds of millions of dollars that were meant to feed hungry American kids on a lot of different things. They took stacks and stacks of cash like you're looking at here. They were blown on luxury cars. Let's buy an Audi. Let's buy a waterfront property out in Minnesota. And if you have time, let's go to a private villa out in the Maldives. That would be nice. Well, that's what they did, according to prosecutors. They showed these video clips, Trace, of the fraudsters popping bottles of champagne out on that luxury getaway. Police say the men were happy to be cashing in. They were texting each other, "You're going to be the richest 25-year-old, God willing." What is being called the largest fraud scam in history? It happened on Minnesota Governor Tim Walz's watch. Today, the Democrat who ran for vice president launched a fraud prevention program. Critics say that's a little too late. The White House has slammed him for failing not just his state of Minnesota, but the country. He pushed back.
You can't have one without the other. Any amount of fraud is too much. That's why over the last several years, we've made many systematic changes to state government to both detect fraud and hold those accountable after it happened. Year after year, we brought new ideas to the legislature to stay ahead of the evolving tactics, and they are evolving.
Okay, so it doesn't stop there, though. Prosecutors.
Now, before anyone jumps in, I want to say this. Every community has its challenges and its shining examples. But when we look at a behavior that seems disrespectful or dismissive of others, it's easy to understand why some Americans, both white and black, feel frustrated. How do you live in a country, benefit from its opportunity, and then mock the people who are working hard to support it? Yes, you might be born in America, and yes, you might have every right to pursue your dreams, but respect matters, appreciation matters, and calling others names and mocking their work, that creates division. Let's be real, mocking someone online is easy when you don't see their reaction. But in real life, when those Americans confronted them calmly and firmly, the Somali immigrants realized the impact of their words. This isn't just a story about mocking or teasing. It's about respect, awareness, and understanding the consequences of their actions. Social media can make us bold, but real life is where accountability hits. Some people online argue that Somali immigrants shouldn't feel guilty, that America is a land of opportunities. And yes, many Somali Americans have received help or opportunities in US. Some Americans, especially black and white working class communities, perceive Somali American as an ungrateful. Videos have circulated showing some Somali youths mocking working Americans as animals who labor to fund welfare programs. That kind of message fuels resentment. This story isn't about shaming anyone. It's a lesson in empathy. How we communicate online and offline affects people and real communities. At the end of the day, America should be a place where everyone can build their future, pursue their goals, and coexist respectfully. Criticism is illegal action or disrespectful behavior is a one thing, but letting frustration turn into blanket judgment of a whole community is another. The takeaway is respect others, work hard, appreciate opportunities, and remember the way we behave in public, online, and in our communities shapes how others perceive us. That's foundation of real progress in America. Regret isn't embarrassment, it's a moment to reflect and do better. That's why the story went viral. It's human, it's relatable, it teaches something important about accountability. So now I want to hear from you. Have you ever realized too late that something you said online could hurt someone in real life? Comment below your thoughts respectfully. If the story gave you insight, hit the like button, share with your friend, and subscribe for more stories that reveal the truth about human behavior and social dynamics. Remember, empathy matters, respect matters, and every interaction counts, online or offline. See you in my next video.